Good morning, Sully.
The Cole Raring Hotline. What's up, man?
Yeah, I know, man. The beard is alive and well this Saturday morning. So salute to Cole.
Nice, man. We missed you last weekend.
Yeah, I was sorry I couldn't be on, man. I was missing you guys, too. I was going through a little withdrawal, but it's good to be back.
A little wrestling withdrawal?
Yeah, I got 2 weeks of material backed up, so let's talk some wrestling.
Let's get to it, man. Drop it on me.
Hey, man, look, PowerPoint cutoff is tonight, at midnight. So there's going to be a lot of playoff stuff to talk about next week. I mean, we'll be getting ready to go down to we'll be getting ready to figure out how the brackets are going to shake out. They won't start next week, but the week after, I believe, we can kind of get a feel for who's going to fall where. We've been looking at the PowerPoints. We had some good meets this week. And it's never too early to look ahead at some individual stuff as well.
Are we talking about the usual suspects when you talk about the team tournaments? The Southern Regionals, the Delseas, the Paulsboroughs?
Yeah, it's funny. South Jersey Group 1, I think Paulsboroughs certainly far and away the team to beat. And in Group 1 as a state, I mean, Emerson Park Ridge up north is also very good, but Paulsboro is certainly the team to beat. They're ranked number 4 in the state for a reason. South Jersey Group 2, that one's a little bit hazier. We don't know what's going to happen. I saw Haddonfield last night against Gateway. They were very good. They won by 28 points. They picked up 6 pins. They were very solid. We'll see if they can kind of get rolling here into the postseason. That's a tough bracket. South Jersey Group 3, it looks like Delsea, probably, Gateway, and of course, your alma mater, Lacey, is there as well.
Nice. The Fighting Lions.
That's right. And South Jersey Group 4, I think it looks like Cherry Hill West. I know they lost yesterday twice to Eastern and Camden Catholic. But those are their first 2 losses of the year. They're a very good dual meet team. South Jersey Group 4 is not overly packed with solid clubs. I think there's a little bit of a drop-off when you get down to the bottom range of that bracket. So I like Cherry Hill West or maybe Clearview there. And South Jersey Group 5 is wide open. That's just like football season, Sully, that's the one that we look at, and it's just packed. We could maybe even have some upsets in the first round, depending on how the seedings shake out.
Yeah, it's been tough to get some of these wrestling guys on the show on Saturday mornings. They're all at these quads.
Oh yeah, man.
We need these quads then so we can talk some more wrestling.
Well, the quad meets are kind of the necessary evil, I guess, for kids to get matches, But you know what, Sully? It's really disappointing when you're covering the matches because the Monday matches are now pretty much by the wayside. Very few teams wrestle on Mondays, so very few teams wrestle on Tuesdays.
You get your occasional Wednesdays.
Yeah, you get Wednesdays, have some really good dual meets. Thursday, you really got nothing. And Friday, a lot of teams don't like wrestling on Fridays because they're going to be driving halfway across the state to wrestle all day on Saturday.
Yeah.
So it kind of stinks, really, on my side of it because there's great dual meets. It's not just that we don't have as many of them, but when we do, they're all on Wednesday.
Yep.
This past Wednesday, there were a number of meets I wanted to see. Well, you can only go to one.
Yep.
So it's disappointing in that respect, and I think there's so much logistically that somehow the sport of wrestling or the state specifically has got to try to figure out whether it's match count limits, whether it's certainly too many weight classes, whether it's how to get some dual meets. I mean, Saturday night dual meets, the ones I've covered with good teams are the most exciting thing in the sport. They grow the sport. They're a huge event, and you don't see them anywhere anymore.
Well, by the same token, you're kind of only asking a kid to weigh in once a week, which may be a little bit better for their health. They're not sucking down 2 times a week to try to make that weight.
Yeah, I'm glad they don't weigh in 4 times a week. I mean, they will for the team tournament if they make it all the way to the state semifinals. But I agree in a part with what you're saying, but I think 2 times a week and 3, sometimes that's better because a wrestler, especially a younger wrestler, can stay on schedule.
That's true, yeah.
With his diet, I mean, I wasn't a wrestler, but I think about the way
you're not going on a crash diet, Thursday and Friday to try to make that weight Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a procrastinator extraordinaire, Sully. So when I was in school, if I had homework due Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I was more inclined to do it than if I had it due every Wednesday, because then it would just backlog on me and I wouldn't take care of business. So the bottom line is, I think to have it kind of regimented and structured sometimes helps a kid if he knows he's got to make weight a few times in a week.
Right. Who's really been jumping out at you? I noticed old Timmy Fitz over there at Holy Spirit picked up his 100th win. He's having an outstanding career. Should be a really solid senior season for him, and guys like Mike Waz, and I know the prep has had a really good season so far. Who's really kind of on your radar as guys to watch as we get into February?
Well, Tim Fitzpatrick's certainly there. We've touched on him a couple times. And Michael Waz, and also a hats off to him and his folks. I spoke with them last weekend. Great folks. Ralph Pallone has a couple really great wrestlers there. St. Augustine has been very strong, and I'll tell you what, Sully, we've got kind of something brewing here in terms of 182. You know, Billy Janser won states last year. I believe he won it at 170.
I think he was, 170.
And he won it for Delsey, and at Escape the Rock, an individual tournament up at Council Rock South High School in Pennsylvania, he beat Santino Marino of Paulsboro in overtime. And then the other night, he also beat him in overtime, I believe it was, by a point. So they could see each other down the line at 182. That would be the third match that they wrestle. That will only happen at state. They're not in the same region. They're not in the same district. That's one that would be great. A former, last year's state champ, a senior, headed to Rutgers against somebody he's very familiar with. So keep an eye on that one. The Meninos, obviously. Joe Manchio at Seneca, still tremendous wrestler. And here's a name that's kind of been cycling through South Jersey wrestling circles this year. Really kind of an odd story, but Brian Martin of Williamstown, 195 pounds, undefeated. He beat Tommy Maxwell from Delsey. He bumped up and beat Devin Starks at 220 from Highland with 5 points in the last 7 seconds. I was there. It was unbelievable.
Wow.
This kid has been injured the last 2 years. The last time he wrestled varsity, I think he was 152, 160, the middle of his sophomore year. He is on a mission, and he is the real deal. You never know how the experience thing will play out, that he hasn't been in the individual postseason before, and he's got one shot at it here as a senior. But Brian Martin is a wrestler to watch, man. He's a great kid, too. So keep an eye on him.
Anybody, Mark, and we're talking with Mark Trible, the Courier-Post. Mark, anybody that had a lot of success at a weight class last year that maybe has bumped up more than one weight class?
I could think of Andrew Clark. I mean, Collingswood, this kid, I believe he was 106 last year. He made an excellent run. And his walk-around weight was probably closer to 120. He was really cutting down to get to that 6 as a freshman. And he was very, very good. This year, he's bumped up to 126. So, I mean, you're talking, 3 weight classes.
Yeah.
And he's been excellent as well. He's been excellent there. So that's a kid, really, you look at how he grows, and apparently his genes indicate, his parents indicate that he will get rather big. You never know where he could finish. This is a kid as a senior. He might get to 160 or 170. And starting at 106, that's a tremendous amount of growth over a couple of years.
It reminds me, when I was in high school, a kid named Brian Stout, he actually finished up at Southern, but I think I want to say he went from like 135 to 170 in 1 year. He just shot up, had a huge growth spurt over the offseason, and just turned into a monster in 1 year. It was incredible to see, going up like 4 weight classes.
Well, we're not too far removed here, Sully. A couple of years ago, Tim Fitzpatrick was wrestling 120 pounds.
True, yeah.
And, I mean, he had a serious health scare that he wasn't managing the way he went down. Maybe he was trying to go down too far, too. But when he came back from his stay in the hospital and when he was cleared to wrestle, he finished the season at 145 pounds. And that's kind of where he sat. So we've seen it done before, sometimes mid-season. I mean, obviously we hope there's nothing like what happened to Tim Fitzpatrick with the health scare, but yeah, it's crazy, man. You never really, in the first couple of weeks, you start looking at results, and you're like, that kid's at 160? Like, wasn't he at 132 last year? But
right.
You never know what can happen in the span of, 9 months or so.
Yeah, especially with that age group, you're talking about 14 to 18. Sometimes you can grow 4 or 5 inches in 1 year and put on 25 pounds.
Yeah, that's right. And the kids that kind of stay static, they're the kids that, we've all seen them by 8th grade, they're towering over everybody else. And by the time they're senior, they're just shorter than everybody else. So they kind of stick around the same weight. Good
stuff, as always, Mark. Got to let you go, but we'll talk a lot more team championship stuff next weekend as we get into the team stuff and then the individual later in February.
Well, you know what, Sully? I hope next week we get to talk about this thing they're talking about around here at the Super Bowl too. I want to
touch buddy.
on that.
We'll get it all eagled up next week.
Hey, man, go Birds. I'll talk to you soon, Sully. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right, thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
You too.
That was Mark Trible of the Courier-Post.